In May of 1933, the Soviets began deporting many of their prisoners to an isolated island known as Nazino Island. It's said that around 6,700 deportees were forcibly sent to the small, isolated island located in western Siberia around 540 kilometers, or 340 miles, northwest of Tomsk, Soviet Russia, and were to construct a so-called special settlement. Their goal was to develop and cultivate the island. What happened on this island will surely shock you and could possibly change the way you see this island. Join us as we travel to the Nazino Island Settlement Project and explore what really happened on this island. Before we get into the video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Puzzle for more puzzling and mind-boggling content. Never officially named, Nazino Island is named after the nearest village, that being the hamlet of Nazino. In 1933, men and women were deported to a barren and remote island in western Siberia. Within a matter of weeks, many were either killed, mysteriously disappeared, or too sick to even stand. This is the story of what may be the closest we ever were to a real-life battle royale. Soviet Russia was not the best place to live at the time, as many were suffering from misery and famine, where millions of people were dying of starvation. Any criticism of the Union would see you get sent to camps where you will oftentimes be worked to death. These prisoners were primarily of ethnic minority groups and peasants who owned land but did not want to share any with the collective. The prisoners deported to the islands consisted of children as well as elderly. No one was spared, including a 103-year-old man. None of these prisoners were exactly ready to build a new settlement on a secluded island. The island is also referred to as the Cannibal Island because of the horrifying events that took place here. In February of 1933, Stalin had made a plan alongside the head of secret police and Gulag camp to send 2 million prisoners to the island as a settlement experiment. But the island was not an ideal place for a settlement. The land was covered in ice and snow all year round, and when it wasn't, it was covered in wet and mushy swamp land, not very suitable for agriculture. The prisoners were abandoned with their only food source being flour, which was mostly used up during the journey. There were little to no tools, and practically without any clothing or shelter necessary for the harsh Siberian climate that they were sent to. What was worse is that those who attempted to leave were ultimately killed by armed guards who weren't really equipped and experienced themselves. A trail convoy that held many so-called underclass deportees left Moscow on 30th of April, and a similar convoy left Leningrad on 29th of April. They both arrived 10th of May. The daily food ration during the trip was merely 300 grams or 11 ounces of bread per person. Unsurprisingly, criminal groups among the deportees attacked the other deportees and stole their food and clothing. The conditions of the island had inevitably deteriorated, which had resulted in widespread disease as well as brutal violence and an abuse of power. As there wasn't enough food for everyone, the prisoners had developed cannibalism to survive. Within weeks, over 4,000 of the deportees sent to the island had either died or disappeared. Those who survived the torment were in terrible states with ill health and diseases. One of the failures of the authorities that had led to the disruption in the project and riots was the abuse in their power by favoring certain prisoners over others. The guards had exchanged extra food for services from the female prisoners, which had angered the others, causing them to lash out and take revenge on those prisoners. It is said there was a woman prisoner who had a relationship with one of the guards who had provided her with more resources. One night when the guard wasn't there to protect her, some men had tied her up to the tree, brutally killed her, and then had cut off every part of her limb, and then eaten her body. The men were later killed by the guards, leading to even more conflicts. The project had been a total failure, and Stalin had decided to cancel the Nazino settlement experiment idea only a month into the plan. There was later an official investigation into what happened on the island and the incidents that took place regarding the prisoners. The findings, however, were kept quiet from the public until 1988, a staggering 5 decades later, when a human rights group known as Memorial had later made their details public after an investigation. The guards of the island were either serving short prison sentences or simply dismissed for their actions. Today stands a memorial cross in memory of those who had lost their life and to the survivors of such an inhumane tragedy. Every June, the villagers from the Nazinak district travel to the island by crossing the rivers and come together to give their respects and place wreaths on top of the memorial display. That was surely a tragic story. But hey, check out this video on screen to learn about other places that are not so horrific. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Help support us by smashing that like button and subscribing for more of the best puzzling content like this. Have a good day and see you soon.